Hello, welcome to my podcast, Not Again, Yamilli, a podcast where we have open and candid mentor-like conversations with my friends, guests, and mentors who are not only killing it in their respective careers, but are also leading people authentically, which means counting on that learning moments, learning to make decisions on the go, and the decision making frameworks and the doubts that creep in. I'm your host, Yamilli, an MBA graduate with admits from Rice, INSEAD, and ISB. I have the experience of working in tech and venture capital, and a former model and a global nonprofit founder. Now, you see, I've had my share of figuring things out for myself. Now, in this episode, I welcome my friend and to be the fifth generation Indian bureaucrat, Spandana Durga. Now, Spandana has achieved her successes from graduating top of her class from Miranda House in Delhi University to acing one of world's most difficult exams, which is the Indian Union Public Service Commissions and the State Service Commission exams. While she has lived her life of bureaucracy, with her immediate parents serving in the Indian Administrative Services and the Indian Railways, her grandfather has served in the Indian Police Services and who was also the Director General of United Andhra Pradesh. Now you see, her story and her journey has been one that of perseverance and hustling it out in secrecy. In this episode, we talk about all that is, from conversations with gunmen at home to being escorted to birthday parties. Now, she gives a little sneak peek into being a little secret life of being a bureaucrat. Now, please welcome my friend for today, Spandana Durga.
Something. Coffee with Yamilli. Hi, Spandana.
Hi, Yamilli.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
One of my closest friends over the years, and I'm so glad that not about taking all the time, but I really like that we're able to do this podcast, like officially trying to be serious.
And I'm so happy you asked me, and I'm very, very happy to oblige. Yes. My first podcast ever.
Oh, it starts with me, and then you
Yeah.
go to the big news
The big news interviews and the big names will pour in, but you'll always be my first.
Oh, how sweet. Ooh, I have some really interesting ones.
Okay.
Let's start with what does your morning routine look like?
Do you want to know the routine that I want to have? The routine I actually have.
I want to know the one that you actually have.
Okay.
Because want to have is aspirational. It can always be aspirational
Yeah,
in that
okay.
case, right?
Want to have and what I have, it's like in between right now at the moment.
It's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's a sweet spot you found for yourself.
That's probably a really good way to put it, because that is exactly what it is. Like, I aspire, for example, to wake up at 7, but then that never. So I'm waking up at 8. I wake up at 8, 8:30, whatever, and I will start my day with like a huge dose of coffee, so that the caffeine kind of like debuffs my under eyes for starters. Okay. And then the average days wake up, start studying with the idea of like, I want to complete, say, XYZ things. But it nearly always begins with the newspaper or some news of some sort. Like, I'm always trying to like get news, whether it's BBC, CNN, something. I will scroll through the apps. And then I will move on to the Hindu and I will read that front to back. And then we'll begin with the studies for the day. Most days I can put in with effort 5 to 6 hours, but the aspiration, as we spoke about, is 7 to 8 hours. Not bad. I'm not bad.
Very close to it.
Yeah, like sometimes it's also staring and not doing, but it's fine as long as I'm sitting on the chair and doing my work.
Is there any part of your routine that you've inculcated from your parents or from your family?
Oh, the newspaper reading. I've been doing that since I was a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just love the newspaper. I think it's so nice to open.
Yes.
The smell. I think I'm addicted. It reminds me of my childhood, of like the 7 a.m. sunlight that, you know, because, you know, after 7:15, you have to start getting ready for school. So, like, you know, you have like a very small bracket to kind of flip through the papers. As a kid, I used to always start with sports, though. That's, you know, debatable. It's like, what are you really looking for?
I used to start with entertainment in that whole segment.
Oh,
It's like, a newspaper comes in, my dad takes or my granddad takes the main, and then you have the entertainment, the Times, or the entertainment
what
section.
about Hyderabad?
Yes,
Times,
yes.
Times.
Oh,
Right.
then like, here you go, there you go. That's where I used to start. Oh, what's happening? And then the astrology, and then
Oh, it's so cute. And the comic strips.
Yes,
Yeah,
Captain
those were
Books.
fun, yeah. Oh my
It's so expensive that my only way of reading
The-
Captain
yeah.
Books was the newspaper. Please come to
Otherwise, you can't afford the set.
You know what I recently got?
God. I feel so. But in case birthday's coming up, in case you feel like send me anything, that's the perfect gift. I'm not
my
gonna let
God.
I used to actually be huge on Federer. Like tennis, was like my thing. So I used to be obsessed with the ongoings during the season. So I was like, you know, constantly following tennis.
Wait, isn't there one that's coming up right now? And even Nadal is going to play.
US Open is over.
US Open, the one in Spain or in Europe.
Oh no, I think most of the season is done. Yeah, US Open is
there is
ATP finals. I'm sorry.
one.
Anyway.
Right. But if you would take 3 takeaways from them and take it into your everyday life, or let's call it wisdom.
Okay.
3 wisdom pointers that you would take ahead in your career that you move into and into your everyday life. What would those 3 takeaways be? Or the 3 things that you just take from them?
Just in general would be like general life discipline. I think none of them are not disciplined. All of them have a very specific schedule that either stems from their work or it stems from like the retired folk have their schedule, which, you know, involves good diet, good exercise. They're literally the textbook that we had in moral science where, you know, you have to eat well, you have to sleep well, you have to exercise every day, all of that. So probably the discipline is one thing. The second thing would have to be the work ethic, for sure. The work ethic is probably the apex of my household. It's like that nothing matters more than your work ethic. It's like you have to do what you're being paid for without any kind of there are no questions about it. You can't question that. And then the other thing would probably have to be general integrity. Kind of keeping yourself morally upright at all times and doing what's right, not what's easy. That's generally the agreement.
I want to come back to, you know, the integrity part of it. But before we get to that, you're a 5th or 3rd generation. 5th? Yes. 5th. Wow, that's a long time.
I didn't say. I just 5th gen, yeah.
So, does your dinner conversations, or let's say any conversation when you sit with your grandparents and with your, you know, parents,
Yeah.
and then how, and when you sit and you have your own opinions at this point, how is it very different from what your dad says to what your mom says, and then to what you are thinking? If I were in this place, I would want to take it a lot more differently.
I think their many years in public service have taught them that opinions are, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but they are subject to change with the times.
Right.
Just as laws are amended to suit whatever is the public discourse at the time, it's a very, like, public servants also kind of traverse the same path. So they are not fixed on the kind of opinions they have. They kind of fix on the fundamentals they want to believe in. For example, my grandfather is a very egalitarian man. He does not have this concept of boy-girl, which, you know, it's rare for someone who's 84 years old. There is almost no bias from his end. regarding anything. He will almost never have, when he's looking at a grandchild, or he's looking at another child, or he's looking at general life, there is no bias. It's not religion, race, caste, creed, nothing matters. For him, it's just, are you a good person or are you not a good person? Are you worth my time or are you intellectually bankrupt and I don't want to be there? So that I think is something I naturally kind of inherited. So dinner table conversations are usually, they run on the same path, which is more analysis than opinion based. It's more like, what do you think could have been done right in this, say, XYZ policy, and what do you think is wrong with it? Why do you think the wrongs are wrong and why do you think the rights are right? What can we change in the wrong? It's more like that. It's more of like a policy analysis situation as opposed to an actual firm opinion. Most of which will obviously be based, because of the public service that runs in my house, it will be based on what the Constitution says and what the laws say and so on and so forth.
That's interesting. But your grandfather also has a gunman.
He does.
Right? What does a conversation with a gunman look like? Because it's the last time we spoke, and I remember you were like, you can't have a conversation with this gunman. And I'm like, what conversation would you normally have with this gunman?
No, because they're usually very nice. They talk to you like it's a very good relationship that you share. You know, you say good morning, good afternoon, good
Does
evening.
he like stay in the house?
Yes, it's 24 hours.
Really?
Yes.
He has to stay awake when your grandfather sleeps.
He can sleep, but the idea is to be vigilant. It's
So when does he sleep?
he sleeps at night, but he sleeps
With like, oh, he's very
generally vigilant, and he also sleeps near the entrances and stuff. He's not going to be like
inside.
Yeah, because that's the idea, is to provide the security for the VIP, for the lack of a better word.
Has there ever been an incident where he had to take his gun out and be like, oh,
There have been incidences of like threat phone calls and stuff, but not necessarily post-retirement. There has not been like an incident where they have to take out their guns and be like, no, that has not happened.
what is a casual dialogue if they ever have to take out the gun? Is it like, I know I've seen it on TV, it's like FBI.
Oh, no. It's not like that. It's also very like
Silent.
tacit. Yeah, it's not something that you're going to advertise to everyone that is happening.
Yes.
So I immediately, it's like a system. They have a whole system where there's like an alert. They'll alert the person and the control and stuff, and then cops will come. And that has never happened. But there have been situations that I've been told of in the past which needed a lot of security and like protection. Yeah. They would like call up and threaten and be like, yeah, you know what, we're going to kidnap your kids and stuff. And honestly, my grandparents are just like, yeah, go for it. If you have the balls, please come go and do it.
What is
Most of them are empty.
Yeah. But when you get those threats, what is the protocol to you that comes? Stay at home?
Oh yeah, it's business as usual. Unless it's like such a big threat that everyone should be at home, which has not happened so far.
Okay.
But it is business as usual, but we have to be vigilant. Like we will be dropped and picked up. There will be a system, yeah. It's like, you're watched quite a bit.
Is there a difference in the way things are handled when it's with your grandfather as opposed to your mom?
Yeah, my mom is in a lot less inflammatory job. Right. My grandfather was in a very inflammatory job. Like he was, which is why like 24 years after service, also he has to be round the clock under protection. Mom's is a slightly more like, it's a good like chill in terms of like absolute security.
Is there like a difference because she's a woman and he's a man, and in the way that they approach policy or implementing a policy, and it has worked much better for one? I know they're in very different services, both of them do a very different line of work, right? So if you were to take the best of both worlds, what would that be?
I don't think there's a difference in the way they work, because both of them are obviously extremely competent and extremely good at what they do. But I think there is a lot of difference in how they're perceived. My mom has to work doubly hard to be taken half as seriously as, say, my grandfather would have been taken. And that's something that she knows. And that's something that she accepts is part of the job. There were a lot of people who wouldn't take her seriously in the beginning of her career. And then she had to obviously double down. She had to be the bad cop for the most part so that, she's taken seriously and people know not to mess with her work. They know not to mess with her ideas in general. That happens a lot with women in the services.
I was surprised. I was listening to Andrew Huberman, and in that there's an episode where he talks about being nice is confused or it's perceived as naive.
Yeah.
And when you're just rude or a little arrogant or extremely cynicism, it's considered to be
competent.
Very competent.
And especially so for women.
Yeah, I've noticed that. When you're especially nice, you're taken for a ride.
Absolutely.
Like a complete nice. In every facet of most.
People will literally talk over you.
Forget it. I think when you're nice and just kind, even to your friends, it's just considered, she's a very easy. I can run over this person, talk over you.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you're more like a cynic and then they start to view you as, okay, this person was not really nice to it.
Which I think is what a lot of us women do. We do this. We tend to be more cynical and we tend to gravitate towards being more, especially ones that choose a certain path in life. Like, for example, if you want to have a career and you want to be taken seriously, generally, you choose the path of most resistance.
Yes.
Instead of least resistance, right?
I think that whole facade comes down when you're with your close friends.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, now I can just relax and I can say the most silliest of things and not be scared.
That's a blessing. If you don't have that close circle, how long are you going to keep that tough exterior?
I'm so glad.
I am so glad we do have that.
Do you or have you felt the pressure to follow, within this path of services? Or what was that exact moment when it came to you? Because you have done math honors in undergrad from Miranda House. Okay. And that's how we met.
That's how we met.
The job we met.
So cute.
My name stuff. But so I knew that time you were in this, you were helping out your friends in the US, in the college, and you were so involved in it, and you were involved within the quiz society, you were the president of the quiz society. You were so involved in it, I thought naturally you would gravitate towards going
GRE situation. Yes. Right, yeah.
And it felt like you did too.
I did, and I actually had a pretty fantastic score in the GRE.
Yeah?
I did. Much was it? I made, back then I think it was out of 340. I think they still changed it. I'm not sure, but I had like a 326.
High five! 328.
Oh! Explains your full story.
Yeah. So, what changed or what made you just drop the idea of, pursuing further studies and then gravitate towards UPSC?
Right. So I think the first one you asked me was, have I felt the pressure?
Yeah.
And honestly speaking, I have not. Because while the discourse was around public service and stuff, I have 3 other siblings that grew up in the same house and none of them are in this.
Yeah.
My sister is in the social sector, but that's about it. It's capped there. I was the only one that took to this quite like fish to water because I don't know. I think I really enjoyed the discourse. I enjoyed the listening to the kind of work that my parents and grandparents did. And I enjoyed seeing the impact that it had on people. I mean, I think it was very satisfying to just look at them do the work and see the impact. And I was like, hey, I want that. I also want to feel like I've done something that matters, that makes a difference. And it should be tangible. As opposed to say writing code and okay, I'm not saying that that's not impactful. It's of course impactful in today's world with AI, but it was also impactful in 1995. But it was it's very tangible and the results are very immediate. right? So I was very, very inclined to that from the very beginning. Then I moved to Miranda House and everything opened up to me.
Yeah.
So I was like playing with different ideas. I was just like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be here, I want to be there, I want to do everything all at once. And that's obviously not possible. So I put off this whole master's idea. I was like, you know what, I'll get some time off. It's okay. Masters can be done at any time. But UPSC, as you know, it has an age limit, an attempt limit.
What is it?
So for the general category, it's 6 attempts at the age of 32. So you can give 6 attempts anywhere between 21 to 32.
Okay.
So, you know, I was like, okay, this will require time. It will require energy. It's going to require a lot of like focus, concentration, and like dedication. You can't just inconsistently perform and get through it.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I think I'm young enough to, I have the time to like kind of experiment. And as I delved further into the preparation cycle, I realized that, oh my God, this is exactly what I want. This is what I want to do on a daily basis. This is the kind of stuff I want to read. This is the kind of stuff I want to learn. And I think that's where it kind of came from. Even though I had my phase of experimenting with the GRE and the master's situation and environmental policy, all of that, I had my whole journey. And then I was like, you know, I guess like this is time bound and I want to stick with it.
What was that journey like when you started off? What, at 21?
Yeah.
Right? What was that?
I'd say it was filled with a lot of inexperience in the beginning, because while the whole online boom of like information and stuff has happened the last couple of years, it really wasn't there back then.
Yeah.
Not to mention the patterns of the UPSC question paper have been changing very rapidly. It's like almost like every year there's like a new pattern. Every year there's like a new type of question. You know, there's a new thing you have to look for. There's a new topic, like sports, for example, were never really featured. And when 2021, there's like this question on Roger Federer, which I got right. But you see my point. It was very evolving. So there's a lot of inexperience in the beginning. There was a lot of confusion. And obviously, prep for UPSC requires a different kind of prep as compared to your school exams or your college exams, which, as you know, 1 month before our semester finals, all of us are like stuck to our books and we're just like making those 1-page notes for revision, which is not what it is with UPSC. You have to put in the years sometimes. And that's, I think, what I ended up learning through it.
You said it comes with experience from the beginning and to now. It has evolved or it has changed from what I got. You said that. So, what would you have, or what's your take on when somebody is young, or when you were young at 23, let's say you started at 21, right? And 22 or 23, you would have gotten into the services,
right,
as opposed to now, if you were to get into the services, what would that have looked like in terms
as
of
22, 23, and then 27?
Yeah, how would that work? Because it's immense power that comes into your hands. So how does that change? And now that you look back at it, would you have wanted to do it right now? Or would you have still said that, no, you were good enough, to handle it at the age of 20? Let's say, in your early 20s.
You know, Spider-Man, he says, with great power comes great responsibility, right? I think that's very, very true. And if you ask me now, I think in retrospect, given that kind of power at 22, 23, I would fumble. I would have definitely fumbled. I would be faltering. I would be learning, which I guess a lot of people do. But I don't think it would have been the best for me. Given what I was also dealing with at that time, there were like a lot of like ups and downs mentally, like all of that, which I think a lot of us go through before the age of 25 and we, cognitively stop growing. So when it comes to power at that age, it can corrupt. It can be too much. But as you get a little older, you've seen more people, you've lived more life, you realize that the shoe fits. Now the shoe fits. Back then, it would have given me a shoe bite.
Oh,
Right? It definitely feels like, once you cross 25, 26, you've lived enough to handle the problems, to process more than anything else, to process the kind of issues that a district will bring up, like health, like education, like sanitation. These are all things that we're not particularly empathetic to when we're younger, because so much is happening around us. Like in your early 20s, it is absolute chaos. Right? With your friends, with your family, everything is just chaotic. But and especially people with privileged backgrounds like us, right? We're not in like a rural situation. We're not in like even peri-urban situations. We're like proper urban, born and raised. We've gone to some of the best colleges in the country. We've been exposed to some really fantastic opportunities. So that empathy is hard to come by. But as you grow, I think you see more, you consume more content, and you realize that, you've learned that. You've learned the empathy that is required. You've learned the ability to handle that kind of power. Because they're going to put an entire district in your hands if you're the IAS. And, that's a lot of people in some states. Like, go to UP and there's like a district every 4 kilometers.
yes.
And you cannot even imagine the population density in places like Uttar Pradesh and like West Bengal. It's astonishing. And the number of people, the number of problems, the complete lack of resource. How are you going to juggle what's more important?
It's because I remember talking to my friend, and I think at 25 he had become an IAS officer. And the conversations we've had after that have been so different, because like you were saying, it's easy to get, corrupt, right? And there's so much going on. And when you were saying that, all I could think about is neuroplasticity.
It is true though.
You will grasp everything and anything in that point in life. And it's also, yes, you're more flexible to get on. But at the same time, you're easy to be swayed away towards one side as well. And then later, you're a little more grounded, like as you've seen a lot more in life. And the discussions that mostly happen from my conversations with him were like, you can't, I think apparently somebody called and then he threatened him. And he's young. He's like, I'm really young. And somebody calls you and threatens you. But you have to start looking at it as, I can't have somebody, a common person or anybody from the district, calling me and then threatening me and abusing me over the phone and then get away with it. Because if I don't do something or make sure that the action to this is not visibly,
does not have a consequence, right?
Yeah. Then you are undermining my
authority
in this place. So he was like, yes, I got this person, put into behind bars. And I'm like, what? What did you just do?
Yeah.
And then, he was like, you have to take it up with a very iron fist. Okay.
I don't necessarily agree with No offense to your friend.
Yes. And I'm like, why would you put him behind bars? He's like, no, if he's going to do it, then imagine how many more people are just going to follow suit with that. And there'll be threats coming in. And I will not be able to do my job. Rather, I'll be trying to sit and fight this.
I don't necessarily think that's the way to handle it. Like, it's not your prerogative to put someone behind bars just because he called and abused you, just because of the position you're in.
The fact that you can do that is scary. Like, oh, I can just do that. If I want, I can just be like, you inside the table.
No, I don't even think that's like legally okay. I'm not sure it's allowed because I have an IAS officer parent.
I'm gonna cut this part. Let's go.
Huh?
Go.
It's just that
because if it's illegal or something, I don't want to get this idiot into trouble.
Okay.
So I'll anyway cut this part.
All right. Like, I do have an IAS officer parent, and I know for a fact that you can't do that. But we can move on after cutting this bit. Just let it go.
It depends if he went through the proper channels of communication, went to the police first, police did some investigation, found him and arrested him.
I guess. Well, we'll know only if like we go into like the paperwork of it, right? So I'm not sure about the channels, but I don't think like putting aside the legal part completely, right? Let's not even look into it. We have no idea who this person is. We have no idea what the process was, right? I also think that's not a great way to deal with it because it's one. You can't like it's not the Squid Games, right? You can't just like do whatever you want. The best way to deal with this, from what I've seen my family do, is just ignore. Like it's fine. Like go for it. Like I am a public servant. You want to abuse me? You're paying tax and I'm earning from your tax. Oh, it's fine. I mean, you don't have to abuse me. That's a bit rude, honestly. But like, what I'm trying to say is that it's not something that you have to take so seriously. It's like online trolling. They will troll you anyway. Now, because of that, will you get scared and be like, no, I can't do my job? At best, you're like, okay, let's increase the number of security guards outside my house. That's it.
Is it also because you're young, you're extremely young, and you've been put in this position of power?
Right.
So, what have you seen within your experience that some of the most stupid or serious mistakes or circumstances where it has gotten to their head?
I see a lot of officers on social media kind of posting the strangest things,
Are they allowed to?
Again, that's all not defined because the civil services rules have not been updated to kind of include social media, so to speak. I think they have issued a couple of notices, but I'm not sure if there has been an amendment to the rules and the code of conduct. But I see very, very strange things being put up, like at least growing up, that's not what I thought we were allowed to do at home. Like,
go up on
we
social
weren't
media.
even, not even social media. Like, in school, I wasn't even allowed to, like, my mom gave me very standing instructions that I'm not allowed to talk about her and my dad's job.
Really?
Yeah. She was just like, listen, there's no need. And I was like, yeah, cool, there's no need. So if anybody ever asked me, it's like, yeah, my mom works in the government, my dad works in the government. It was like till very late that my friends found out that I had like bureaucrat parents. Like I think when I was 22, 23. And I've known them since I was 9.
What?
Yeah.
This one and this?
One friend found out in Trivandrum last year when I was 27. She's like, oh really? I'm like,
I think I found out when you mentioned very, very late. For all I knew, it was like, oh, my friend is in the same hostel. So please, she has no friends. I said, oh, okay, fine. I'm not like I'm making any friends here. Let me go say hi there. And it just ended up. And I think when I found out or something, then I told
I think we, in our third sem or fourth sem, I was telling him, then your dad and my mom kind of talked and stuff.
Yeah. So he came back to me and said, did you know? I said, no, I didn't know. How would I know?
She doesn't tell.
Yeah. And then he's like, what do you talk? What do you have in common? I said,
talk about like a million other things. Milk, for example.
Who's taking the milk? I didn't want milk.
How much chini in my milk? Those were our discussions.
So, yes. Well, that brings me, I've been curious about this. Was there something where you found out where everybody else was allowed to do? Like, all your friends are allowed to do, or something that came off as a shock to you or a surprise to you where you were not allowed to do because of, your mom told you, like, no, this is not something.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were like, everybody does this. It's just me who's not.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things. You'd actually be surprised. That there are a lot of, like, for example, underage drinking. Absolute no there was no chance. Like, I have not, like, in Telangana, the age is 21. I had my first drink after I turned 21. It was like that, There were all those very specific, like, instructions where you can't break the law being the child of two people that are so involved with the law. It's just not good.
So anything that's illegal?
Anything that's illegal is generally frowned upon in the house. And I take it quite seriously because I'm obviously concerned about their reputation. They work really hard, so I don't want to undermine that effort by kind of being the kid that kind of takes advantage of it.
But that's one. Was there anything like a funny part with like, oh, this everybody does it, like I'm not? I thought everybody wasn't allowed to do justice. I'm not allowed.
I think in the initial stages when my grandfather had first retired, there was still quite a high threat,
Okay.
right? So back then we were escorted everywhere. You know, either we were with an adult or we were with like our the security that my grandfather had. And the protocol is revised every couple of years. And if the threat level is reduced, they will reduce the number of guards with you. But back then, immediately after retirement, we had like 3-4 people like constantly around the house. And we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We are not allowed to step out of the gates of the house. And I used to think this was the most normal thing in the world. I used to be like, it's fine. Like, it's all good.
Also, you would say no to anybody who would ask you, let's go out, let's go play.
There was no playing with other people. We were 4 kids, we had to play with each other or our cousins at best. It was one of those very strange things. I used to think this is very normal. And then when you go to school, 3-4 years into school, you're like, oh, there are birthday parties and stuff. And for which my mom will anyway say no because I'm unescorted. I'm not allowed to go. Like, it was only after I turned 12, 13, 14, she's like, okay, fine, attend this. But the driver will be waiting for you downstairs, because I don't know. And another really strange thing was there are like guns in my house because they are all registered to my grandfather's estate.
Right.
They're obviously like very carefully kept away in their cases and all of that. So, in Dashara we have Ayudha Puja, right? In my house, it used to literally be Ayudha. They would lay out all of the guns, the rifles, the knives, the pistols, and we would be putting like, haldi kumkum on all of them and like, thali mein the aarti and all. And I used to, as a kid, I used to think, yes, this must be not.
This was a shock to me when you told me. You said, we do puja to the guns. I'm like, what? I do puja to my books and my laptop.
And the cars and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. For us, all 4 cars will be like puja engineer. And then there are guns put on a mat over there beside each other. All of them in the haldi kumkum and like all of that. And then they will break a coconut also for them and all. It's hilarious.
That is funny.
I think I had a friend come over once and she was in absolute shock when she saw it. She was like, what do you have in your house? And I had to like apologize very profusely. I'm like, no, these are all registered. They belong to my grandfather. And they're all, every year they're taken, the registration is renewed and the bullets are in count and all of that.
It's one time, I think only one time. Not one time. Anytime my mom, right now she's an enforcement officer, right? So anytime we go for any of the establishment or places, which is a part under her
jurisdiction.
Yeah. So over there, then they have like special. I think they have guns. That's what I'm going to. Especially in Kashmir, they've had guns. So when you go visit there, and they have like they only have the guest house and cars and stuff, and then they send you like a gunman with you.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "No, you have a gunman to protect you." I mean, this is Kashmir, of course. Good. And this was at the time when I think it was very unstable, and then you couldn't possibly go.
Now it's really hard to travel to Kashmir, but like even now it is. It's like their tourism has taken quite a hit.
Yeah, just that. Let's talk about. We'll go back to how this entire journey has gone through, and it has been a one of patience and perseverance and ability. How has your mindset shifted
Right.
through the years that you began and through the years that you are now? And let's go back to looking up as, because now I define success very different
Than we did when we were 25.
Yes, yeah. So what would that look like to you now? Then how did it look like to you when it was 21?
I think when I was 21, I was really impatient. I was like, I needed things to happen. I wanted them to happen. It was so much of a sense of urgency in your early 20s to like achieve, because it was just the boom of Instagram, Facebook and all of that. And everybody's like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm awesome. Look at me. And I'm just like, I have been at this book on this table for the last 8 months. I am so bored. This sense of urgency was very, very prevalent in my daily life. But I think as time has passed, that sense has completely like gone. There is no urgency to like be at like the helm of my success at all times.
Yeah.
And like be good at everything I do. The perfectionism has completely like I wouldn't say non-existent, but it's like it's definitely at a manageable level. And I'm much more at peace with the pace of the journey. I'm much more at peace with everything that comes with it. The failure, the tears, the mental health issues, the everything. Like, some days you can't get off the bed and some days you're like raring to go. So I've just made peace with it. I'm just like, this is what it's going to take and I'm willing to do it. So I think that has been like the mindset shift for me. Now success isn't like overnight. Nothing is overnight, right? And I'm really not measuring my success by the bars of society's expectations. Like, I no longer think that, you have to, like, this subliminal messaging that kind of enters our life once we cross 25, 26 is just that, what's your career at? Like, where's your husband? Why don't you yet have a child? I'm like, I do not want to conform. Not just because I want to be a rebel, because I just don't think it's for me. And it's been helpful to kind of accept that reality, that it's fine. Things come late, they come late. They don't come at all, also for me. So yeah, I think that has happened.
And touch wood, we have come from families that let us take that step back.
Yeah.
And they're not, there's no external pressure at the same time from them as to,
Do this, do that.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, you're fighting your battles. So we'll just be here.
Like I said, ever evolving with the societal mores. It's just that simple. I think we're lucky enough to be in families that are also choosing to evolve.
Yeah. Because that's not how societies evolve. It's them choosing to see that my child is going through something and a lot more. And it's okay. Let me take that step back and then be like, let me adjust to what they want rather than to what everybody else wants.
I think once they identify that we're not just lazy or something. It's just consequences sometimes are strange. Right? Circumstances are strange. You don't know. So I think them accepting that has helped us quite a bit, So no complaints.
Pretty much.
It just goes with it. Yeah.
What? So there's a lot of studying to do. And you've studied for 7 years now? Yeah. That's a lot. But you've seen your parents work and you've been involved more or less passively in their work, right? So what does that look like in terms of implementation? What you study actually translate into what you implement? Because I've also studied. I've just went back to school. Definitely has nothing to do with what you end up working. Yeah, nothing to do with it. So with what you study how does that translate into design, the policy and implementation of policy?
So what you study, I think this might probably be one of the few jobs that I know of where what you study and what you do with it, like at your workplace, is very similar. It's extremely similar because when you go to train at the academy in Missouri, when you graduate the 2 years of training, you're given a master's in public administration degree from JNU. Which is actually a fact that not too many people know. So that is it's very similar to what we study. But what we study here is overarchingly like all of this. Say we have polity, economy, geography of India and the world, history of India and the world, so on and so forth. And then when you come to the academy, the subjects are slightly more specific, which is why you have per service, you have a different academy. Right? So you have Missouri, the Labasna thingy you have for IAS, you have National Police Academy for the IPS. So it becomes more specific based on the service you're allotted. But I'd say that for all services, commonly the syllabus that I study is definitely very, very relevant.
Okay. we spoke about implementation over here, right? And you said they're very similar, and each of them have a very separate academy where they go and train. And it's very similar to what you studied.
Right.
But most of your implementation deals with working with politicians.
Right.
There comes your pressures from working with politicians, and then there comes your maintaining your personal integrity with what you go into thinking and how that would
And how it has become
yes
aspiration versus reality.
Yes.
Actually, a lot of people have this misconception that it's really hard to navigate what happens with politicians and this and that. Now, this is very specific to the relationship between a politician and a bureaucrat. But for the most part, I think it's very navigable. I think it's very possible to kind of, because ultimately you're talking to a person on the other side.
Yeah.
So if you're persuasive enough, if you have enough data to back up your facts, if you have enough what is the word for it? Like the drive to push your idea through, for the most part it works out. Right? Because ultimately the politician also wants to do something, like he came into his position with a manifesto. So he has to do that if he wants to be re-elected. That is one point. And the second thing is, even if you're not, say for example, if you're not in agreement with what he says, you always have the option to just write your opinion. Write your opinion that this is not my opinion, this is not what I have suggested, or this is what, in my position, I don't think this is what I think it is. Therefore, I don't agree with this idea, which is perfectly well within your rights. You can do this. Now, beyond that, if they choose to transfer you, if they choose to, yell at you, I don't know. I don't know if they yell. I'm not sure. I've never been to meetings with politicians. That's on them. But it's perfectly within your rights to disagree. It's just that this transferring system has become slightly politicized. So I guess it's gotten this bad rep, for the lack of better words.
Is there the way you look at it? Because you're going into with multiple degrees and sorts of studying.
Right.
You're a highly educated person by the time you enter the services. And you're working with politicians who not everybody is, goes through a degree and has all of the education. And you're one of the best at the university. Now you also get this additional master's, right?
Yeah.
So does that have like a dismay in your head that you're working with this person and you are coming up with data and facts and the style of working, and you're working with somebody probably who's not gone to these schools or probably has not had the same education, and yet here he is having the similar authority and to go away with this, or just the way the decision maker. Yes, I don't
want to do this, or I don't agree with you.
You don't know the way system works. You haven't seen how the this kind of conversation. So it's just, for when I look at it, it's just a little more like, why do I have to work with this person who is not on the same level of what I'm thinking or in any of that? I'm fighting through this where maybe it's a little ego and arrogance that comes into play. So because I work within the corporate, the other side of it. But when you are going into this, how do you actually go into that mindset? That
First and foremost, I think public service it's for the public. That is a common goal that a politician and a bureaucrat will share.
Right.
So it starts there, which I think reminding anyone in the service, or generally for the public, anyone working in this sphere, reminding them of that is imperative. Like, it all starts there, that we want to do something better for the people, right? So I think that is a great point to begin. And the second thing is, as a bureaucrat, you should have the wherewithal to be able to deal with people. You can't just be given that degree of power and not have the ability to connect with, or share your thoughts in a manner in which the person in front of you understands it. Right? You can't be so high up on your horse that they don't understand you. You should be able to bring it down to the level where even if, say, for example, like a villager who has not had the opportunity to be as educated as you, he should be able to understand the importance of, say, the vaccine, the importance of, say, the vaccine. So, unless you have that skill pre-existing or develop it over time, I don't think generally you're going to be very successful in the public service. So, it's important to cultivate that in order to get the best out of your job, get the best out of the politician's job, which I think a good percentage of bureaucrats in this country have. Or at least they nurture and develop it over time because it's a requirement of the job. So I think it starts and ends there. If you're constantly at war with the people above you, then it's not a great look. It's a waste of resource. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of for example, schemes are say for 5 years. 2 years you're sitting and fighting only with the person instead of trying to come to an understanding, a conclusion of some kind so that you can start the work. If that's not happening, then what is that?
If you had to tolerate something about this job, what would that be?
I don't think there's anything I have to tolerate, so to speak, about the job. I think I like every aspect of it. Even the parts that I don't like, I'm fine with.
So that's something that you tolerate.
Is there anything I don't like though? It's just, I think when you grow up in that environment, it's not something that you question anyway. It's not something that you already know this is how it works. It's like a doctor's kid is going to know that, this is a stethoscope, this is an injection. So you already know the good and bad. So you stop viewing the bad as bad. It's something you've already kind of learned to live. So it's not really that much of a...
That's like just majority in life that it comes to there are no bad days as such. It's just sometimes it is. Yeah, you just have to...
Crests, troughs.
Yeah.
That's all. Sinusoidal income.
Let's talk about misconceptions.
Right.
Over here. What's the most common misconception that you've heard about the services?
Can I pull a Hindi one?
Yeah.
बहुत बनाते हैं पैसे. बहुत बनाते होंगे. Sacks of money must be there. What kind of talk?
This is so true. It's just generally just thought upon your mom works for the central government or your dad works. You must be a very, very loaded person. Where is the money?
Why am I taking loans? Where is this money?
It's not coming to me. I don't see any of it.
There is a hole in my slipper.
I am still struggling with my student loans and I don't see this.
I have not seen this money. I promise you. It does not exist to begin with, I think. Especially when you have parents that view integrity as a core facet of their life. What is this money you speak of? It's a misconception. I agree. It is a stereotype that arises from somewhere. There can be no smoke without fire, but that's definitely something I've heard way too many times in my life.
Yeah, that's still
I still do. In fact, a lot of people still tell me it's once you become an officer, if you become an officer, though you will be so comfortable. In what? In my tribal district. Not that there are no comforts there. They are very comfortable places, but it's not like I have fantastic cappuccinos waiting for me from Starbucks outside there. I do not. I promise. I will be working with IPDA and I will be drafting policy and I will be sitting there in a room which has water seepage everywhere and it's just going to be that. That's my life and I'm happy with it.
How are you going to rebalance yourself? Going from drinking Starbucks coffee in a very urban area
to a more rural setting.
Yes.
Part of the job, it's something my dad has done, it's something my grandfather has done. Yeah, I'm just it's all good for what I get to do as long as I'm satisfied with the outcome. Because a midlife crisis is not something I really am looking forward to. So I'm hoping that me doing this won't really lead to a full-blown midlife crisis. I'm fine with it. I think I will obviously have an adjustment period as we would anywhere. But it's not something that's going to like break my resolve or anything.
You've had early life crisis already.
I have, yeah.
You were like, I think
Quarter
I've
life
had it
crisis.
2 weeks.
Quarter life crisis.
Exact. And then. But what are your go-to rebalancing elements right now? Like you're studying and there's a certain way that you go take step back. Okay, this is happening. And as opposed to how you do it now, have you seen your mom do it differently? How have you seen your grandfather do it differently? Or have you just taken from them and then this is how I do it?
I think a common feature between me and my grandfather's for rebalancing is definitely exercise.
Oh.
Like we are nuts for it. Like he will play tennis and he will keep playing. He has been playing tennis for like 6 years. And general like movement, physical movement is one huge factor. We all also like to read. That's another thing that definitely puts me on like helps me like explore worlds that are not mine.
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury. It is. And otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe lately I've been consuming content on OTT life. Rebalancing mostly focuses on exercise every single day.
Integrity and values. How have great cost? I know you've been a person who's very grounded and very, very solid, rooted to your values, right? And how have you remained to be someone just very constantly and consistently rooted to your ground while having everybody else is doing a lot of fun things, like social media, everybody's going here, they're trying to do a lot of fun stuff, and yet you remain very true to who you are. Like over the years, even in your downtime, you remain true to who you are. How have you been able to do that?
Well, thank you for saying that. I think I early on in life I was very clear about doing what is right versus what is easy. Very, very
How do you
early.
get it?
At home, man, like I have to credit where it's due. They've always been that. It's never cool to do the wrong thing just because it's easier. So I think it all started there, and I was able to kind of extend that to most of my life. Like I still today prefer to, keep it real. Because if you don't do that, I don't know how much of you is real. You start losing bits of you and you are fake, and if you have a facade and if you have all of that, like I don't have to worry a single day in my life that, oh, I have to maintain this way, that way, isko maine aise bola, usko maine waise bola. That kind of stuff is not there at all. And I believe also very, very deeply that this is something that I want to carry forward in my career. So I don't think, and this is actually something a friend of mine, a common friend of ours, actually told me over lunch. She was just like, it's a very slippery slope. You start it once and then you just keep kind of slipping down it, and before you know it, it's like a huge thing. So I think that like I don't want to even get near that slippery slope. I'm just kind of like I want to be as much on the right side of history as possible. And to take that forward in my work will be like a great blessing if I can continue that way. It's pretty much it.
That is very recently I've just come to view, or there's a lot of things change, and right now we are living where a lot of things are flexible.
Right.
We're ever expanding into options, and everybody's open to more things, and everybody's open to adjusting the way you live your life, and things are going. And so, how do you start viewing? Do you start to question your values and integrity in a scenario, or it's not a scenario in today's life that we're doing it right now, where you're like, or you would say, I would rather be rigid and just this is not me, though. Like I'm not going to do this. I understand this is very open, but it doesn't process for me yet.
Right. Again, I've not really picked values that are very difficult to kind of. I've picked like pretty fairly simple ones, like honesty.
Yeah.
I picked compassion. general empathy, which is like the most human thing you can do. Just, it's not that hard to live life that way. Like, it's generally not disagreed upon that being honest is a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know? Like, people are like, yeah, cool. Honesty is the best policy. It's also the easiest policy. Like, in my opinion. You don't have to remember any lie that
Yeah.
cool, it all the truth, it doesn't matter anymore. And similar with compassion. Who hates compassion? Tell me. Like, someone's
You're
going through
taking
a
for
hard...
a ride most times when you show compassion.
Oh, that's again, it's a great filter for that is honesty. The minute you're blunt, the minute you're frank with your opinions and your views, it's a huge filter for like people that have like not so great intentions.
Sweets. What was there any part of your life that has been difficult or it seemed hard as a child while your other friends and everybody else, while maintaining friendships or relationships?
Are we talking in specifically about the services aspect that made it difficult, or
I'm guessing that is a huge influence on your life, right?
it is?
Right.
I think there wasn't any specific part of my childhood that made it difficult, so to speak. But I think like any child has, certain dysfunction that they have to deal with within their family.
Yeah.
I think I also had, and this was my dysfunction.
Right.
Thoda generally rigid, strict, what I can.
Okay. Coming to our last segment that I have. What do you wish was illegal?
Lying.
What are you kind of snobby about? You're just snobby in general. You're like that subtle, quiet snobby, like very grounded snobby. Because even when I didn't know your parents were bureaucrats or something, there was a snob. Yes, I know about a snob, but it wasn't like on the face of it. People are on the face of it snobby. It's loud. You're not loud. It's
Subtle snobbery.
very subtle snobbery, but it's how do I put it? It's
Endearing.
it's more than that.
Is it a loving kind of snob?
Yes, it's a very loving kind of snob. Because you're very grounded, like as opposed to so many other people that I know. It's very different. So that snobbery just comes off as
Cutie.
like what do you assume?
I agree. I 100% concur with that. I think it's just, I'm not like trying to be a snob. I just think I'm like super like, I need things to be a certain way. Like I'm a little uptight on those fronts. Like I like hygiene. A great example of my snobbery is like how obsessed I am with like keeping things a certain way and like have to bathe before you sleep. And like, oh my gosh, things like that.
But what kind of snobby?
Gentle snob. I'm not going to push my snobbery.
When was the last time you did something for the first time?
A thinker. I think most recently I went for a pottery class. And I made a couple of pots. I mean, like, whatever pots. Mug kind of thing. Yeah, it was okay. I'm apparently okay at like I have like longish fingers, so like she was very pleased. She's like, they're like, I was able to make the most aligned and equal pot as opposed to the wonky ones my friends were making. So yeah, that was the last time I tried something. First time.
What did I do? The dance party thing.
Oh my god, that insane. Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that like absolutely bonkers where you have so much fun?
I think that's only fun when you have with your very close circle.
Yeah.
And you can just keep it there.
And then just make the most weird moves. Where you're just like doing some strange karate for like.
Feels very comfortable because I know you for so long and I know you've known these people for so long.
Yeah.
Because I've heard about them. I've always known through you.
Yeah.
So I feel like, very ease right there. Like, okay, fine. There's no weird. I can do the
Yeah, the touring part was absolutely fun. Like, I told you it was going to be fun. And yeah, that was also the first time, the last time that I tried something for the first time. I had never been toured before.
Really? No, I think I have, but not the way that.
That was very cool, right?
If you had to compliment yourself with a serious face.
Wow, you're so honest.
So original, thank you, right?
Is it the regret question?
What? No, I'm not asking the regret question. Do you want to answer the regret question?
I don't mind.
Go ahead.
I like looking back in retrospect. Please ask me the question first.
I didn't write it down.
But it must make something.
Do you have, now that you look back and reflective and introspection and all of that has come, as we've grown up and become wiser, do you have any regrets that you look back into?
Regrets? Probably not. But definitely things I would do different. Or at least like wish, if I could advise young me, just generally I think stay away from like these really negative things. They exist, they exist. So that would be it. They can really, really bring you down. And they will make it like their life's mission to do that also, because for some reason they're jealous or whatever, and they will do it. And the moment you cut them off, and the moment you take away the kind of power they have over you, which they will want, again, everybody wants that. That is, I think, the moment things will change. Like, you will be able to like recognize yourself again. You will be able to like come out of the low, the trough of your life, is when you have, your good friends with you and the ones that believe that you can do it, or family or anybody for that matter. It's such a spiel, right? Positivity, toxic positivity lately. And you think it's like all like, they're just saying it for the sake of it, and oh my god, is this even true? But like, as life has progressed, I've realized that is the real like succubus of your life. It will take you down, because that's the environment you're in constantly, and you are hearing all the bad things, and you're going to eventually start believing them, whether or not they're true. And that is why I think they say surround yourself with people that are good, positive, like light, like you, who will always encourage you no matter what. Like, no matter in which position you are in life, they're going to believe in you. And I think that is more, like, that is probably what could have been changed in my early 20s. And I think for most of us in our early 20s.
Okay.
A question that I asked myself and I haven't answered. Proud.
Cut. I'm not going to ask that. This is the question because I'm going to take it from the previous episode.
Oh!
Jump in.
Well, my last question, and this I really like to ask every guest of mine, which is, if you could have a billboard anywhere in the city, anywhere in the world for that matter, and there are no financial constraints, what would that billboard say and where would that be?
We'll pick New York because of Times Square.
Okay.
Then we'll pick Paris because I just watched the Olympics and I'm like, wow, what a spectacle. Right? And then we'll pick Delhi.
Okay.
No. I think like a great couple of proverbs, or proverbs, again a terrible word, but like a couple of statements, I guess, that I would put on these 3 respective billboards. Would have to be, one is live and let live. Please. Right? And then fortune favors the brave.
Really? I had a gift or something. I had gifted it to a friend of mine. It says something very similar. Fortune loves the courageous heart, or something like that. Yeah.
Fortune favors the brave. And I saw this in Roland Garros, which I think Roland Garros himself said, which is all over the Philip Chatrier court, and it's like in huge letters. It is victory belongs to the most tenacious. So maybe that would be my third.